Audi seem to be trying to cover as many bases as humanly possible. They've got options in every premium category from subcompacts to supercars. Now, while that might give customers more choice, it also lends itself to a bit of cannibalism, with models encroaching on each other's sales space. With that in mind, think about the Q5 and the Q3. And now that I mentioned those two, whatever happened to the Q7? The original Audi SUV is still around. It took them a while to get into the SUV market, which is surprising considering their fondness for all-wheel drive. Perhaps to remind us that the Q7 is still around and is as strong as ever, Audi South Africa gave us a model that you won't find on any sales brochure. It is a regular Q7, but with the off-road style pack. For 35,000 Rand extra, you get extended sills, door protection strips, underbody protection, and 20-inch rims. But if you want one of these, you have to ask the right people, because it is a special order. Special because it'll make sure you have quite a rare spec on your Q7, but also one that makes the car look even more purposeful. This SUV has always been imposing, thanks to its sheer size, its muscular lines, and more LEDs per square foot than any other car on the market. It's a big machine that's aged rather gracefully, admittedly with the aid of a facelift, but as far as a combination of style and purpose goes, it's one of the best. And now with the extra plastic, it can take on Africa's toughest. Well, at least it looks like it can, although I don't know too many people who will spend 700,000 Rand on a luxury SUV and then happily release it into the wild. It lacks real off-road ability because it doesn't have a low-range gearbox, but it can handle the rougher than average. It's got quattro all-wheel drive, of course. Its air suspension and ESP systems have got an off-road mode, and it's got automatic hill descent control. Although that last item will almost certainly be used for steep driveways, rather than trying to abseil the 2-ton beast down a cliff face. There are a few things on paper that suggest the Q7 is happy to get dirty, but there's a lot more in real life that suggests it won't ever want to. For starters, there's the engine. The 3-litre V6 turbo diesel's got 176 kilowatts and 550 newton meters, and it's not just effortless, it feels kind of eager. The 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox is smooth and capable, and it's got paddle shifts for when you feel sporty. The fuel consumption figures are, as usual, a bit optimistic, with a combined cycle claim of 7.4 litres per 100 k's. You're not likely to achieve that under normal circumstances, because even when you're out of the start-stop traffic, where things should be more efficient, you can't help but try discover the Q7's hidden talents. That air suspension system I mentioned, the one that helps when you're off-road, has also got a dynamic mode, which may seem like an odd idea in a car like this, but I took one on a road trip through some slippery Eastern Cape mountains, and with a full load, I was amazed at how composed and capable this car is. The Q7 really is one of the best all-rounders on the market. It doesn't quite have the pedigree or the off-road capability of a Range Rover, but then again, it's also a fair bit cheaper. This Audi SUV is a good-looking, easy drive that isn't scared to get dirty off the road or have a bit of fun while on it. Getting back to my point about Audi's models and their potential for encroaching on each other's space, you might well be asking yourself why anyone would choose a big, bulky Q7 over the smaller, more nimble Q5. The answer to that is quite simple: the luxury of space. For starters, in the Q7 you get the optional third row of seats. The Q5 has also got a raised ride height, but that's also more car-like, where the Q7 is more commanding. The tech across the two might be similar, but in the Q7 you get more opulent options, things like an automatic tailgate, independent rear climate control, and a DVD system for rear passengers. As far as this special order Q7 goes, all the safari-ready extras are reserved for the outside. In here, it's just pure Audi magic. Top-class materials, great tech that's easy to use, and a build quality that is still unsurpassed. The optional third row of seats is the same as just about any other car makers, good for small people on short trips, but nothing that you'd want to spend too much time in. The arrival of the Q5 and the Q3 may have forced the Q7 into the shadows somewhat, but it hasn't lost any of its class, even when compared to the newer models. the granddaddy of Audi SUVs can still take on the youngsters and beat them in a lot of ways too. The arrival of the Q5 and the Q3 may have forced the Q7 into the shadows a bit, but it's lost none of its class even when compared to those new models. The granddaddy of the Q range always has been and still is the best Audi SUV because it offers a combination of style, real luxury and capability that the lesser Q models just can't match. The Q7 in a safari suit is still as good to drive on the road thanks to Audi's very versatile V6 turbo diesel. The off-road style pack adds to the attitude of the Q7, making it just a little more imposing. It doesn't do much for its off-road abilities though, which remain the same as any other Q7.